Over the past few years, we've had some amazing new coasters debut. Velocicoaster, Iron Gwazi, Ride to Happiness, Conda, and more have been regarded as some of the best coasters in the world since they opened. But what rides does the future hold? As the 2022 theme park season comes to a close, I thought it'd be a good idea to look ahead to 2023 and all the new coasters opening next year. There look to be some fantastic ones coming to parks all around the world, and there's a lot to cover, so let's not waste any more time and get right into it. This video is going to be split into two sections. This is because for a lot of coasters, not much is known about the layout or what it'll be like exactly. So as a result, I can't really provide a super accurate description of the ride because nobody knows what the ride is like, duh. So in the first half, I'll just go over everything that's known about each coaster and then get into the ranking part for coasters that have a confirmed layout after that. Obviously, I'll only include thrilling rides since no one wants to see me go over 5 Vekoma Junior coasters. Let's begin. First off, Voltron coaster coming to Europa Park. This is a Mack Big Dipper, the same model as rides like Lost Gravity and Dynamite. Unlike those coasters, however, it looks like Voltron will feature 2 launches instead of a lift hill, with one launch being vertical in the style of Wicked. This is going to have a really long layout as well, over 4,500 feet of track, which is more than double the length of Lost Gravity. While not much is known about the layout as a whole, this coaster looks like a great fit for Europa Park. Next is the Vekoma Super Boomerang going to Fantawild Yuzhou. This is a new model from Vekoma, and it looks to be indicative of what the company's been doing with their renaissance. The Super Boomerang is a huge improvement from the 53 piles of garbage they've made already. Again, we don't know the full layout, but some pictures have been shown depicting this really cool downward zero-G roll coming out of the spike, as well as 2 other inversions. Snoopy's Racing Railway is coming to Canada's Wonderland in 2023. It's an art family launch coaster very similar to a ride nobody's heard of. Oh god. Fridolin's Verrückte Zauber Express. This is a multi-launched family coaster that looks to provide a nice experience to guests of all ages, and it appears as if Snoopy's Racing Railway will do that as well. Genting Skyworlds in Malaysia will reportedly be adding a Dynamic Attractions SFX coaster. This is the same model as Mission Ferrari, which I'll get to a bit later. This ride will feature 2 inversions, 3 launches, and 4 so-called tricks. It was originally scheduled to open in early 22 and be themed to Alien vs. Predator, but problems with the IP will cause the ride to need a retheme and open in 2023. Fuji-Q Highland, home to rides like Ejinaika and the spine-breaking Dododompa, will be adding an Intamin motorbike coaster for 2023. The addition of a new mystery coaster for the park was revealed a few years ago, and with a cost of over $30 million US, this led to lots of enthusiasts speculating what the new addition could be. There were some interesting ideas. But what they're getting is, like I said, an Intamin motorbike coaster of sorts. Not much is known about this, but for how much this ride cost, 1 billion yen more than Ejinaika, it should be pretty good. Next is Primordial at Lagoon. This thing has been being built for so long now. Who even knows if it'll open next year? Why is it even on this list? Was I thinking it's Primordial? Of course it's going to get delayed another year or 2. Next coaster. Oh no. Mission Ferrari. This is another one of those SFX coasters, and yet another ride that's been delayed for like 5 years. Just like Primordial, I know it's been testing recently, so maybe it'll open next year. Probably not. Get out of the video. Here we go. SeaWorld Abu Dhabi, a park under construction, is planning on opening an Intamin multi-launch coaster along with the park itself. This coaster has been speculated to have 3 launches, 2 inversions, and a max speed of just 44 miles per hour. It's certainly an interesting concept. Mattel Adventure Park in Arizona is another park under construction. They'll be opening Hot Wheels, which is rumored to be a launched Hyper GTX with 3 inversions from Chance Rides. It seems odd that this ride would have a launch and inversion, since the only other Hyper GTX Lightning Run at Kentucky Kingdom features a lift hill and is mainly focused on airtime. This leads me to believe that this ride won't be as good as a lot of people might think, since the other stuff Chance has built has been, well, interesting. But nevertheless, this will be a cool coaster for a new park. Emerald Park will be opening a Vekoma STC in 2023. This park, if you're not caught up with the latest news, used to be called Tato Park and has rides like Kushu Lane and Dino Dash. Their new ride will be very similar to the existing STC Hals-über-Kopf, but this one will be 3 feet taller and 50 feet longer. Nothing's known about the layout yet, but this ride will also interact with the family boomerang just like Hals-über-Kopf and Voldampf do at Tripsdrill. Parque Warner Madrid's building a Batman-themed Intamin Blitz coaster. This will have a very interesting layout with 3 launches, a switch track backward spike, and a few inversions. While it doesn't look to be quite as good as something like Velocicoaster, this will be a great fit for the park and most likely the best coaster in Spain. The B&M Surf Coaster's gained a lot of attention throughout the community recently. It'll be a stand-up multi-launch coaster coming to SeaWorld Orlando, and what seems to be B&M's response to the growing number of multi-launch coasters around the world from companies like Intamin, Vekoma, and Mach. What's confusing about this is the stand-up feature. I'm not sure if it'll work exactly like the old stand-ups, but no matter how the system works, standing up on a roller coaster is just not a good idea, and I bet this ride will get new trains a few years after its opening. As for the ride itself, construction has begun, and it looks like an intriguing concept. Chessington World of Adventures is adding a B&M wing coaster as part of a new Jumanji-themed area. This is going to be a launched shuttle wing coaster with a swing launch and beyond vertical backward spike, so to those of you who are saying that B&M can't innovate, shut up. No stats have been revealed for this coaster yet, but from project plans that have been released, it appears to have 2 inversions, so between this and the surf coaster, it looks like B&M's getting a lot more daring. One of 2 Vekoma tilt coasters coming next year is going to Energylandia. Although the whole layout hasn't been revealed yet, we know that it has a max height of 147 feet and reaches speeds of up to 53 miles per hour. There's also been some elements confirmed to be on the coaster, but these are translated from Polish and may not be completely accurate. The elements include a twisted vertical drop, a reversing camelback, upwards 0 G-roll, triple down, twisted camelback, upwards helix camelback, barrel roll, high side or flat carousel, turn, twisted bunny hop, and a bunny hop. I'm not going to break this whole thing down, but we now know this will have quite a bit of airtime, a couple inversions, and whatever the hell a high sider and flat carousel turn are. This tilt coaster looks to be a great addition to Energylandia's expanding portfolio of coasters. Now let's move on to rides that may or may not open, and no one really has any idea what's going on with them. First off, Barracuda. This is an Intamin going to Fully Ocean Happy World, and a ride very similar to Fahrenheit at Hershey Park. It's got a vertical lift hill and 5 inversions. The ride was originally scheduled to open in 2022, but as far as I could find, it's not operating yet, and no opening date has been announced. However, I'd assume that Barracuda would either open later this year or more likely sometime in 2023. The same is true for Turbo Turtle Power. Again, barely anything is known about this ride's opening status, especially since the park it's in is an indoor Chinese Nickelodeon Universe park that's under construction as well. As for the ride itself, plans show 2 launches and a variety of elements. It'll have a 142-foot drop off at Top Hat and feature 8 inversions. The first half is just Takabishi and TMNT Shellraiser's first half, but when those rides go into a lift hill, Turbo Turtle Power will hit its second launch. The ride will be built by Intamin. In Vietnam at Vin Wonders, there's a coaster called Wrath of Zeus. This is the first Vekoma Firestorm, and it's the fastest coaster Vekoma's ever built. The reason why I'm mentioning this is because there's a second Firestorm coming to Ocean Flower Fairy Island, which was supposed to open in 2022. Ocean Flower Fairy Island is actually an artificial island that's being built in the South China Sea as a tourist destination. It'll feature a theme park and many more attractions when it opens, presumably sometime in 2023. The Firestorm is a clone of the original and looks to provide a very good ride experience. Another Chinese theme park under construction is Fantawild Kunming. This will be home to a Top Gun launch coaster, also by Vekoma, when it opens, with the same layout as the existing 3. This park has been in the works for a while now, but it appears as if construction has been slowed over the past few years. Not much is known about the opening date of this park, but it looks like it won't be until late 2023 or maybe 2024. The final coasters in this whole speculation part of the video are the ones at Sunak Cultural Tourism City, another Chinese park currently being built. It's apparently scheduled to open in late 2022, but be fully completed in 2025, or at least that's what I got from various sources online. The main reason why I'm bringing this up is because of the Mach Rides hypercoaster that they're planning on opening. Similar to rides like DC Rivals Hypercoaster and Flash, it appears as if this hyper will have a custom layout. It's unknown when this and the other coasters at the park will open. Now on to the coasters with confirmed layouts and that sort of thing. Since we know what these rides will be like for this part of the video, I'll rank them all from worst to best. Okay, that was a lie. There's 22 of these that I found, and some of them aren't too good, so I'll just go over the first 7 and then rank the top 15. Here we go. Mirabilandia is getting 2 new for 2023 coasters, but this isn't the Mirabilandia you're thinking about. I'm not talking about the one in Italy. Instead, I mean the Mirabilandia in Brazil. This park is actually being rebuilt about 15 kilometers away from its original location, and will be opening 2 new coasters with the park in 2023. One of these is a relocated Intamin 8 inversion coaster, which originally came from the defunct Terra Encantada park and was called Monte Macaya. This coaster will feature 8 inversions, obviously, and be similar to something like Colossus at Thorpe Park. Mirabilandia is also opening another coaster, but I'll get to that later. Next is Lightning, a launch coaster from Vekoma going to Furuvik, a Swedish park. It'll be a family coaster with a max speed of 48 miles per hour and navigate its 1,400-foot-long layout twice, making the launch a boost on the second time around. This looks like a great fit for this family park and gives them their 3rd new coaster in 6 years. Another Swedish family coaster is Luna going to Liseberg. This will be a Vekoma family boomerang, the tallest and fastest one yet, with a max height of over 100 feet tall. Liseberg is a wonderful park, and this coaster will only strengthen their lineup. Arctic Rescue was announced just a few weeks ago. It's an Intamin family launch coaster going to SeaWorld San Diego. We've known that this project was in the works for a while now. However, it seems odd that this park is getting Arctic Rescue when they already have a family launch coaster with Manta. Whatever the reason might be, this park is geared more towards families overall, so I have no doubts this ride will be a hit among SeaWorld San Diego's target audience. Dark Coaster is another family launch coaster, also from Intamin and going to a SeaWorld-owned park, this time with Busch Gardens Williamsburg. This will be a multi-launch coaster going around the indoor course 2 times, making for 4 launches total. It's another launch coaster for BGW, but a welcome indoor coaster and a good replacement for the Curse of Dark Castle. Legoland Deutschland will be opening a family wing coaster next year as part of a new themed area, Mythica. This coaster will be around 50 feet tall, and official height hasn't been released yet, but it'll reach 33 miles per hour along just under 1,500 feet of track. The interesting thing about this coaster is that even though it's a family coaster, it will feature an inversion, a zero-G roll. It's definitely a weird concept and will be an interesting ride in Legoland's collection. By now, everyone's heard of Cedar Point's new for 2023 Wild Mouse. I'm not going to go too in-depth with it since there's tons of videos out there on it. My stance on this and the whole boardwalk section of the park is that it's definitely a good addition to a park like Cedar Point. While I and many other enthusiasts would have loved to see a more thrilling ride, I think it's nice that many parks out there are trying to focus on a better overall park experience instead of just adding coaster after coaster every year. So now it's time to rank the top 15 confirmed new for 2023 coasters. This is just my opinion on how good I think these rides are going to be. Obviously nobody's ridden these yet, so yeah, there's not much more I have to say. Let's get into it. At number 15 is Big Bear Mountain. This Vekoma multi-launch family coaster will be going to Dollywood. It'll feature 3 launches at top speed of 48 miles per hour and almost 4,000 feet of track, making it the longest coaster at Dollywood. This ride will go in an expansion to the recently opened Wildwood Grove area of the park, and even though I would have liked something bigger, I'm confident that Big Bear Mountain will be a great fit at Dollywood, acting as a stepping stone coaster from Dragonfly or Fire Chaser Express to their top 5. Coming in at number 14 is the other coaster going to Mirabilandia in Brazil, an unnamed giant inverted boomerang. This will be a clone of other giant inverted boomerangs like Aftershock and Stuntfall, and if it rides the same as those others, excluding Goliath, it's sure to be a really good ride. Next is Aquaman Power Wave, a Mach Power Splash going to Six Flags Over Texas. This has been postponed for a while now due to the pandemic and Six Flags' late decision to add a turntable and have the ride operate with 2 trains. Aquaman Power Wave is a clone of the other Power Splashes, most notably Pulsar at Wallaby, Belgium, and is sure to be a solid coaster and a good addition to Over Texas. Moving away from the clones, at number 12 is Zambezi Zinger. This is a new GCI that'll be going to Worlds of Fun. That park hadn't gotten a new coaster since 2009 with another GCI, Woody and Prowler. Zambezi Zinger is an odd addition for Worlds of Fun in my opinion because it'll have 8 coasters when this ride opens and 3 will be wooden. I personally think something else would have fit better in the park's lineup, but hey, at least Worlds of Fun actually got a new coaster. As for the ride itself, Zambezi Zinger will be a bit more on the family side with a height of 74 feet and a max speed of 45 miles per hour. It's got similar stats to Invader at Busch Gardens Williamsburg, and I think that's easily the ride this will be most similar to. However, there are some really unique parts of Zambezi Zinger that are much different from other coasters out there. First off, it'll feature a spiral lift hill paying homage to the old defunct Schwarzkopf at the same park with the same name. This ride will also have GCI's new Titan track on parts of the layout. It'll only be on the spiral lift and 1 turn, but this shows that GCI might start to transition to hybrid track. Finally, Zambezi Zinger is the first coaster to use GCI's new Infinity Flyer trains. Not much has been released about these new trains, but they, as well as the rest of the ride, look very interesting. Next at number 11 is Mad Racers. This is coming to Fantasy Valley and is a GCI Woody, a clone of both Thunderbird at Power Park and American Thunder at Six Flags St. Louis. There's not much else to say about this ride. It's a clone of a pretty good coaster and should serve its purpose pretty well. Getting into the top 10, we have American Dryer Looping going to Indiana Beach. This is a relocation of the old Schwarzkopf coaster Chimera, which operated at La Feria before someone tragically died on it and the park shut down due to the accident. Chimera was known for being one of the most intense coasters in the world, and it'll be interesting to see if Indiana Beach elects to keep it running the way it was, or add some sort of trim to make it not as forceful. Taking the number 9 spot is Tron Light Cycle Run going to Magic Kingdom. Tron will be a clone of the ride with the same name at Disney Shanghai. It's a Vekoma motorbike coaster with some really immersive theming. The coaster will reach 59 miles per hour, making it the fastest coaster at Disney World Resort in Florida, and even though it might not pull a ton of forces, Tron's sure to be a solid ride. Next at number 8 is the Vekoma Hyperspace Warp going to Fantawild Yuzhou. This is yet another clone, this time of many coasters at Fantawild parks all over China. The Hyperspace Warp is a new-gen Vekoma model with smooth transitions, airtime, and 3 inversions, and looks to be essentially a smaller version of Lek Coaster or Phoenix. Coming in at number 7 is Palindrome at Codaland. This is a very unique concept, a shuttle Gerstlauer infinity coaster with a zero-G stall, wave turn, and twisted drop. You'll cross over a road on this ride and navigate all of its elements both forwards and backwards, hence the name. This looks to be a great addition to a growing park that has another ride on this list that I'll get to in a bit. At number 6 is Matugani. This is another relocation, this time of the old Intamin accelerator coaster Kanonen and going to Lost Island theme park, which opened just last year. Matugani will be the smallest accelerator, but will still pack a lot into its layout, including a top hat, vertical loop, some airtime hills and intense turns, and an inline twist. Moving into the top 5, we have Storm the Dragon Legend going to Tussenfried. This is a Gerstlauer shuttle swing launch inverted coaster, that's a mouthful, reaching 62 miles per hour and featuring 3 inversions. This is the ride I think has gone under the radar for people most. While it might be short, Storm packs a lot into its layout and looks like a super interesting concept. I'm a bit skeptical if Gerstlauer is going to be able to build a quality invert and make it smooth, but from the layout it looks like a really solid ride and makes Tussenfried a park more people should be aware of. At number 4 is another cloned Chinese Vekoma, a Top Gun launch coaster going to another park under construction, Fantawild Jining. The Top Gun model is a unique launch coaster from Vekoma with its new-gen signature elements, inversions, airtime, you know the deal by now. 2 things that I think stand out are this first element, a rollover camelback that looks like it gives some really good forces in all directions, and the short length of the trains. There's only 8 people per train, which could prove to be a problem capacity-wise if this model were to be added to larger parks. Nevertheless, this looks like one of Vekoma's best models to date, and I'd love for it to be added to more parks. Coming in at number 3 is another Vekoma, Circuit Breaker, going to Codaland. This is a tilt coaster just like Energylanda's new addition. This layout, however, has been confirmed and looks to have some really cool maneuvers. It's got that rollover camelback I just mentioned with the Top Gun launch coaster, as well as some other inversions like a downward spiraling zero-G roll, a stall loop, and a heartline roll just before the brakes. This ride isn't just based on the tilt track, it's got a fantastic layout to go with it, and that's why I think it'll be such a great ride. At the number 2 spot is Airy Force 1. This is an RMC hybrid going to Fun Spot Atlanta and was originally planned to open last year, but it got delayed. It's got a fantastic layout designed by Joe Draves with some great inversions, airtime moments, and all around just looks to be an amazing ride and middle to top tier RMC. Sure, the name is stupid as all hell, but that doesn't detract from the fact that this should be the best new coaster in Georgia. But it's not quite as good as the number 1 coaster in my opinion, Tutatis going to Parc Asterix. This has been in the works since 2018 when it was announced at IAAPA along with Conda, and this ride looks to have one of the best layouts in the world. It's an Intamin blitz coaster with a swing launch, much like Pantheon, but the layout looks much better in my opinion. It's got lots of airtime, whippy elements, intense moments, and if this thing delivers in terms of forces, it could be a top 10 coaster in the world. So that's the list. Hopefully you enjoyed the video and maybe learned a bit about the coasters that nobody knows about. Thanks for watching and stay tuned to the channel for more coaster content. Goodbye.